Assalamu alaikum, Noor.
Assalamualaikum Rahim. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. I'm pretty nervous. How about you?
I'm pretty nervous too, but I'm excited. I think it's a nice change from doing a bunch of work from school. So it's
Yeah, like how can you not be? Like not as it's that's such an understatement. It's not doing schoolwork. You're recording a
yeah, I'm
podcast.
yeah, I know, right? Like it's I guess even though I don't like detest school, I still like find it nice to get away from it sometimes and just do other things because that's all life is. The balance of other things.
In school.
In school, yeah, that's true.
Nice. Anyone under 18, this is our life. Except the small range from like 1 to 5 where you're not really
I'm under
doing
18.
anything. Yeah, same. Same. I
Um,
I wonder if everyone in the podcast is going to be under 18 today. Ooh, sometimes foreshadowing is not as obvious. Nope, sometimes foreshadowing is fairly obvious. I think that's the quote. I don't know. Nor have you seen any movies recently? We talk about
yes, I
movies too
have.
much. What you have? Oh,
What? Say it.
I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey last night.
How was it?
Like 6 out of 10. It's like
Okay, I
it's a
I get that.
good film, but it's just not fun.
I get that. It's you. I feel like most people who watch it for the first time don't like it. I didn't like it the first time I watched it either. You just
You've
get
watched it
it.
more than once.
Yeah, twice. But I mean, I
That
actually read it too. But I like it's a whole thing. But you most people
okay.
really like it in the beginning, honestly.
We shouldn't be doing this, but what makes you really like it as a film?
I'll say three things: the
Okay.
aesthetic, the mystery, and the legacy. That's it.
Okay. Though, yeah, I 100% understand that, but it's just not fun to watch.
Yeah.
There are certain points. If all of the movie was like the stuff with Hal, I would have been for it because that's fantastic. Sadly, that's not it. Okay, either way, we should probably get into it. So, welcome to We the Youth. This is a podcast for the youth by the youth, where we the youth tell you the truth, or whatever we believe, but it's usually the truth because we're Muslims. So, now today we're going to be talking about something that everybody here should know. And if you don't know, you're in the wrong place, but you're going to be in the right place for a while because we're going to indoctrinate you by the end of the episode. MENA, Muslim Youth North America, probably the greatest organization to ever have been made. And we have some pretty special guests here today. But before we get into guests or literally anything else, we're going to talk to Noor about stuff you should be thinking about the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, wait, we didn't even introduce ourselves.
That's a good point. Yeah, so if you couldn't guess, Noor's about to introduce herself.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Noor. I'm 17 years old. I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I am one of your hosts in this beautiful podcast.
And assalamu alaikum. My name is Rahim. I am 17 years old. I am a youth in San Ramon, California, technically Alamo, but San Ramon is where my heart is, which is like pretty close to San Francisco. So I don't know, is
Without
that
further
all? Yeah, without further ado, Noor will tell you what the hadith is.
So, like, what we want to do is, like, I guess since this is going to be like our first episode, what we want to do is kind of like introduce our topic in a way that like is based on hadith because like what's better than I mean that's kind of hadith is really important thing that we should think about and we just wanted to base a lot of the things that we're going to say today on this hadith because yeah, it's a good thing to think about. And this hadith is so today's hadith that we're going to base a lot of our conversations on is innamal a'malu binniyat. Indeed, actions are based on your intention. What do you think about that, Rahim?
I think that we're going to talk about it a little bit more with Zach. Assalamu alaikum, Zach. Who are you?
Walaikum salam. My name is Zakaria. Most people just call me Zach. I'm 20 years old, and I am the president of this awesome organization, Muslim Youth in North America, otherwise known as MINA.
Yeah, also known as the oldest camper I've ever known.
Oh man, don't get me started.
Nah, I love you, Zach. No, it's a prideful thing. The most wise. Uh, it's nice to see you again, man. Wow. Okay, there are three of us here, and we're gonna talk about Minna, of course. I'm not gonna dominate the conversation. Zach, what's Minna?
What's MINA?
As the president, what is Minna?
I think my definition of this organization is different from everyone else's, and I think that's the beauty of it. Like I think my definition of this organization is different from yours is different from yours. But I think to me, Minna is a family. Um, yeah, we do a lot of things, but at the core of what we do them as a family. So I think to me, that's what Minna is.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about how the meanings or what Minna means is kind of different for everyone. I mean, obviously, it's like this huge organization and it does things and it has clear objectives, but like none of that really matters unless it means something to everyone. And it does. Obviously, we're all here, we're all listening to this or at least speaking in this because we have somewhat to do with Minna and somewhat care about it, which I will say I care about it a lot, and it seems like Zakaria also cares about it a lot, so that's good.
Yeah, but not Rahim, of course not. But
Yeah,
no,
no,
of
sorry,
course,
Rahim.
I love Minna too. I don't know. Family's a pretty good way to put it, but no, that's not what I would describe it.
So
I
how
don't
would
know.
you describe it then?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. It's difficult. Like I love Minna. I'm sort of involved. Uh, I don't know. Whenever I think of Minna, I just think of it like as a symbol of my faith, sort of. I clearly haven't thought about what I would define Minna as a whole lot, but I don't know. I started praying after I went to 2017 winter camp, and ever since then I've been interested in Islam. So that's just all I can think about whenever I think of Minna, other than the work that I'm putting off that's supposed to be for it. But usually that's what I'm thinking about.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think.
if
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
you got
Okay. I think to a lot of people that I guess that faith aspect is a big part of it, especially with our camps. For those of you who I guess don't know what Minna is, like we do summer camps, winter camps, and then spring camps as well. But a big part of our camps is that spiritual aspect of like connecting youth to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And so I, again, back to my point about family. I think one of the big parts of it is because when we're at a camp, we're doing it together as a family. We're like um, kind of going through this spiritual journey as a family with your fellow campers and everyone else who's there. So,
I just realized what Minna is to me actually, more than just like a symbol of like when I became religious, but it's an atmosphere. And which is pretty similar to family. I guess it's just a different way to put it, but the reason Minna impacted me so much is because when I actually went to that camp, when I went to that 2017 winter camp, uh, it's just that's an atmosphere that I've never been a part of before. Because I've been going to public school my entire life. I've been going to Sunday school my entire life. But no matter where I went, it's not a place that I really completely and wholly enjoyed being, right? Despite like the goods and bads. But when I went to Minna, that's a place that I knew like 100% I enjoyed with the goods and the bads. And it's that atmosphere with the complete like complete Muslim acceptance. Because like Sunday school, one would think so, but there's always those like group of kids who really don't want to be there and their parents are forcing them to. The kids are there at Minna, but they think Minna's they're happy being there at like the third day usually. So it doesn't affect very much, but it's just like the whole atmosphere, because whether I'm just like on a call with some Minna people or at the actual camp, it's like but not really.
Yeah, I'll one up you. I mean, I went to Islamic school my entire life and I never felt like I truly connected with Islam until I went to Minna, and I always like, and since going to Islamic school, I was always like, Quran class, Islamic studies class, I was like, okay, I'll do it, but I don't see the point of it, and I don't see what this is bringing me other than like complete like just book knowledge, that kind of thing. Like, okay, yeah, sure, I know that the prophet did this thing at this point in his life, but like, why does that matter to me? So like it wasn't until I actually went there and I kind of like lived through it, not like lived through it, but like with the lectures and like being around other people who saw the merit in these types of stories, was I like really able to like internalize it and like practice it in my own life. And I guess the question I would have for Zakaria is like, what made you want to go to camp in the first place? Because I know for me it was just like I just wanted some place other than my school that I could actually like gain something out of.
um, if I'm being completely honest, I only went because one of my best friends was going. Um, and I hadn't seen him in a while. And so he told me, he was like, yeah, my parents just sent me to this camp. You should come with me. And that was like my best friend. And he's still my best friend to this day. But it was like a point where like I hadn't seen him in a year. So I was like, okay, bet, we're going to go. We're going to have fun. And we're just going to hang out together. And when I got there, it like completely changed my life. I think my reason for going wasn't probably like as spiritual or as like impactful as maybe someone else's. But I think the outcome of it was definitely impactful. I remember by like that second day of camp, like I was like, yo, this is the greatest thing ever. I remember that last bonfire that we had at that camp. I was like leading the chants and everything. And I was like, I feel like at home. Like I feel like I'm with my family. So it was that first camp where I just came because I wanted to be with my friend, but I fell in love with it, and I guess I'm still here for now. So
How young were you when you went to your first camp?
um, it was just after freshman year, so I was 15. Yeah.
15. Oh wow, okay. Yeah, so if I went 4 years ago. 4 years ago was my first camp, which was spring camp. And in my opinion, like I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but spring camp's just like the lowest camp out there. It's only 2 days. Like, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna become friends. I'm not gonna fall in love yet. But honestly, like talking about going to camp and why we went to our first camp, I noticed that like 99% of the people at Mena went because like their friend was going or their parent told them to go. Now, a lot of people, and I don't know why, for some reason in my head I'm comparing this to like stories of like girls like wearing hijab for the first time and committing to it. Cause like I ask my aunts about that like every time I meet them. So that's just like one story. And why am I comparing this to that? Because I don't know. Like when you see people that are like really engaged with Minna, you expect something like really big to like be the reason why they're a part of it. Because I feel like a lot of time when people like see Minna, oh, it's like this big thing that only that person is gonna be a part of. But
And
like
it's kind of weird also because if you consider like the hadith that was like that your actions are based on your intention. I mean, I don't like this is like kind of like a generous thing, but I don't think many 13-year-olds going to their first minute camp were expecting this like huge enlightenment, right? I'm pretty sure they just, like you said, they wanted to go to see their friend, their parents told them to, and like mashallah, look what came out of that. What came out of this like really like kind of not insignificant, but like small reason for this thing, like that many years later people like us are like here now doing this to even like promote it for others, because we see the
yeah.
merit in that, and we see that like it can happen for other people even if it's not like that expected, and it's kind of like the opposite, like you don't intend to do something as like as like leading like even like I got really like stuck on like you're leading the chants at your first camp, and the same exact thing happened to me, and like I was always really quiet because I felt like the people around me like they just like, okay, they're just people, right? But then when you go to a camp like that, and it's not even that like oh my god, this like extreme complete transformation happened in me, but it's just like that little like part of your life, like friendship or community that like was opened up within Minna. It like makes you do this thing that like you never thought you would have done, right? I think that's beautiful, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And I
Like
also think like I connected back to like the hadith that you guys kind of thought that you guys read about when we started, like in the Med Amal Vinyats, right? But there's this concept of like renewing your intentions, right? And that's something that we at Minna do. Like I remember we do that all the time. Like we do it before we get on a call, we do it before every camp, we do it before we do anything. And it's just like making sure that like why we're doing this is for the sake of Allah, right? And it's to gain His pleasure and reward in the hereafter. And I think that can be said about people who come to their camp maybe only because their parents were making them go, or they were going to be with their friends. Like when they come back, that intention, like it's no longer to go because your parents are making you go, or you want to go with your friends. Like that renewing of your intention when you come back to like your second or your third camp, it's to like actually gain a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I just think that that's really beautiful that Islam gives us that. Like we're not held to our first intention, that we can actually like renew it and, you know, say out loud and say, hey, I'm doing this for the sake of Allah.
Yeah, and
like
because like men as a youth thing, it's like you get to continually grow, you know, like you have to grow as a person and get to grow with your faith. And there's nothing that like ever stops you from like continuously maturing what you intend to do or maturing what your beliefs are.
my first winter camp, I was forced to go. And yeah, now I'm doing a podcast from in a camp, which is really interesting. Like I've always been open to like faith. I've never been like closed to like going to a lecture. Maybe just because I'm really like agreeable, as in if someone tells me to do something, I'm very passive and will just do it, even if I don't want to, which is a bad thing, but it's a good thing as well. So, but at that point, I didn't want to go, and my mom like had to force me to go with some other friends, and it was kind of embarrassing. But then I went there, and within like 3 days, I had made some friends that I'm never going to forget, and just that subtle change that Mina just does to you, like I went from going to camp to get out of camp to just never wanting to leave, just within the span of like 2 to 3 days. It was so subtle. I hadn't even noticed. I hadn't noticed that I was a new person by the time that I came back. I was actually praying my namaz, and I'm just like, okay, I can do this. Like, this is something that I thought I'd be doing, like when I am how old I am now. I'm like, okay, I'll be 17 and I'll start praying then. But I was like, what, 13 or 14, and now I'm actually like a Muslim. I hadn't even noticed. Like, I don't know. I don't want to like ramble on about how awesome Mina is and how they did that, but it's just like
I
that's
mean, and you come to think of it, like, how did we get here where we are today? And we said it like, yeah, we want to continue this kind of trend of inspiring other youth to go to these camps and go through these initiatives and learn more about their faith. But like, why do you think that like we right now are like actually here right now? Like, what chain of events caused this to happen? You know, it's kind of bizarre to think about. You know.
On that same note, can I ask you guys a question?
Go ahead.
Is there a single moment where you said, okay, I'm in love with this organization. I really love this organization and I want to continue being a part of it?
I'm gonna be honest, this isn't gonna sound like the best thing, but at the last day of camp, I was crying like pretty hard. And it was because like, I don't know, it was like that whole kind of transformation thing. I like honestly didn't realize like what I had been doing to in my life from that point, and I was like seriously questioning like what am I doing? Like it's kind of weird, but I was like, what am I doing with my life right now? And I was talking to the advisor at the time. She's like, she was an advisor at the time, and now she's like a really good friend of mine. But I was like crying my eyes out, and she was like, what? Like she like literally asked me, and she had like a piece of paper down, and she's like, I want you to write down what you want in your life. And I was just like, I kind of was like taken aback because I was like, I literally hadn't thought about that up until that point, that like because of all these things happening, what did I like why am I upset right now? Why am I even here if I didn't even know what I was like going towards? And that kind of like that entire thing, I call it my mini midlife crisis, but like that entire thing, it like seriously like changed my life. And I was like, even though it was like a really like sad moment for me, I was like, there's no way I would have been able to figure this out if it weren't for this, like if I wasn't at Minicamp then, you know. So
That's beautiful.
Hang on a second, I'm gonna quickly adjust my camera here. Marketing is gonna be so angry, but it's okay. They can be angry. Okay, so yeah, so the same way I was forced into going to camp, I knew that after my first winter camp that I wanted to like run one, but I'm a naturally lazy person, and it's actually horrible. Like it's not funny, it's terrible. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I never went and actually did it, like actually did the general application and whatnot. But like the first time that I knew that eventually like I'm going to be doing this is when I left my first winter camp, which I know I'm talking about 2017 winter camp way too much, but it's fine. But I was leaving all of the new friends that I had just made that I still remember to this day, and one of them pulled out their phone because they had their phones at this time, and he started playing like the terrible recorder remix of like the sad music from Titanic, and everybody was really sad, and we were all laughing and just being sad at the same time. That's when I knew, okay, this is where I want to like spend my time. These are the people that I know I want to be with, because not just were they funny, but they were also like they made me better people. And when I actually got into it was when what's his name? I think it was Zaid. Don't know his last name, but he messaged me. He was the Ansar chair at the time. He's like, "Hey, can you fill in me for me at this camp?" And I filled in at the camp, and throughout that entire camp, I just kept on repeating it because I always make fun of myself when I feel insecure, and it just works perfectly. But it's like, hey, I'm fake REC, because I wasn't actually like part of the REC at the time. I was filling in, so I was out of the loop a whole bunch and whatnot. But like people still respected my opinion. I was like, okay, that's crazy. So that entire time while saying I'm fake REC, I'm like, okay, I'll be real REC next time. And by the end of the camp, the real REC was like, yeah, next term REC, what are you gonna do? I'm like, yes, I'm gonna do it. So it's just again like that. Every change with Minna for me is just really subtle.
What about you, Zakaria?
Um, I think for me it was at a point when I wasn't at camp. So my first camp was summer camp 2016. Then I went to winter camp 2016. And then the next camp we had in my region, the Mid-Atlantic region, was summer camp the next year, so 2017. And I don't remember exactly where we went, but I think my family we were going on vacation somewhere, and so like I wasn't able to go. And it was one of those moments where like I just felt like I was missing something during that summer. Like, and I just like, and I was seeing all of my friends from camp, and they were, texting me when they weren't supposed to have their phone, but that's okay. I'm not ranting out or anything. But like they were texting me and like just keep me updated on how camp was going and everything. And it was at that point when I was just like, it was like a hole that was missing in my heart. Like, even though I'd only been to 2 camps, like it was just something that was so important to me at the time. And I was like really sad that I had to miss it for that summer. And I remember like I made a promise to myself. I was like, the next camp they have, I'm going back. And yeah, that's what I did. Next camp, I went back, I had a blast. And then I applied to start getting involved with like the actual organization. Yeah, I think that's probably like that moment where it clicked for me.
Yeah, and honestly, I'll say that FOMO with Minna is so real. It's so real. Like I remember this one time I couldn't go to a camp because I couldn't like it was that it would have meant that I would have to be at the house a long time, and I really couldn't like it sounds stupid, but I couldn't pack that many clothes. I just really couldn't. And what is it called? I remember when I went and saw a bunch of people from Minna afterwards, they were like, no, why didn't you come to camp? Why didn't you come to camp? And I had to sit there and I had to be like, because I didn't want to pack that many clothes. And they were so mad at me. And I was just like, I know, it was stupid and I regret it. But yeah, it was kind of funny.
Might be unique in this case, which actually I have 2 quick things to say, but like I should have a lot more Minna FOMO because I don't know, I've only been to winter camps, which means I've missed 50% of the camps that I could have gone to. But I never really felt bad about that. I don't know why. Since I've never been to a summer camp, I just assume that it's different from winter camp. I have no idea. But I like the cold and I like that community. And at a certain point, I just called myself a winter camp special. So I took pride in the fact, like I always do, pride in my failures, and it's a success. My dad's going to be mad that I said that. Okay, it's fine. And then the second thing, Zach, just so you would know, you said you're not ratting your friends out, but you're the president of Minna. You like that information has become evidence within itself now. So
I mean,
you are the rat and the judge.
Name any names? So I mean, their identity is still protected. So.
But the law knows the names now, so you can't hide. They can't hide from the law. So it's either corrupt or it has Alzheimer's.
Well, Brother Fiaz, please forgive them. They were only doing it.
Okay, because of them, we have Zach now. And by the way, so when you decided that, hey, I'm going to be part of Minna. I'm gonna like actually volunteer. Did you ever think that you were gonna become the president, or did it just like I don't know? Did you think you'd go this far?
Did you even think it was like a goal of yours?
No, it was never a goal of mine to become the president of Minna. I think for me, um, really, I think where every person who gets involved with Minna, I think, or let me not speak generally, so I'll speak for myself. For me, it was really about wanting to like be on a camp committee and like run a camp. Um, that first camp when I was like leading the bonfire and I was kind of like the sixth camp committee during that night. Like it was really fun. Like I had, you know, a lot of fun and I realized that like that was something that I wanted to do. Um, and so when I went back and I got involved, that was really my only goal. I just wanted to be on camp committee and just, you know, be in charge of a camp. Um, and then, you know, the people in the Mid-Atlantic region approached me. They were like, hey, you did a good job. You should apply to be on the REC, which is the regional executive committee for the Mid-Atlantic. And so I applied and, you know, I got it. I was the secretary for a year. Alhamdulillah, I had a lot of fun that year. And then I didn't really want to give it up. So I was just like, okay, I can just keep going. So I applied to be chair of that committee. And so I got that for a year. That was last year, actually. And then alhamdulillah, like, you know, when applications were coming out, and applications were coming out this past year for the executive committee.
Seriously. Yeah, no, take them. Go away. I'm really sorry.
So this past year when the applications were coming out for the executive committee, which is the EC, I don't think I planned to apply when they first came out. And then it took a little nudge from one of my friends and he was like, yo, like you should do this. Like you'd be really good at it. And I think that the organization would benefit. And so I thought about it, talked it over with my parents, mainly my mom. Me and my mom had a lot of conversation about it. And then I applied. And then I guess it was in Allah's plan to put me in this position. And so here I am. And so I guess that's a long-winded way to answer your question of did I originally plan to become president? No, but Allah's the best of planners. So here I am.
Yeah, and I'm sure that like you, above all, you were just intended to just keep like the community that you would have been like involved in and like keep doing the initiatives that you were like involved in. I mean, I'm different from both of you in that I've never been on any committee, REC, any camp committees or anything, but like I've been involved with Minna for a little bit, kind of doing like tasks here and there. I mean, and we kind of all in one way or another are here now discussing things and it kind of worked out in the end, I guess. But yeah, like it's kind of weird to think about how like the scope of Minna is so huge. And like part of the reason that we even wanted to start this podcast was that like there's so much that like that's already talked about and there's so much that we want to talk about that it's just like what can we do to bring those two together? And like a really good way was that like get the president of Minna, you know, like he's like the overseer, not really, but like he kind of oversees like this huge organization. But here we are like discussing something that brings us all together, which is this like feeling of like community and like trying to inspire like youth to follow the same path. And yeah, that's pretty cool.
And yeah, it's just that huge just scope of Minna that was another reason why the podcast is so important. We have so many people that love this organization for, of course, it's Minna. Like, why would you not love this organization? But we barely have anything unifying them all together other than like ISNA, which like 5% of the people at Minna go to. So having this is so cool because it's like one of the things that everybody all across America and that little bit of Canada, I respect my Canadian brothers and sisters out there.
Brother Fias is Canadian. You could have just singled him out just then.
Oh yeah, well you just did, so
what?
But yeah, this is something that everybody in Minna can partake with together. So that's honestly super awesome to think about. Although I don't know how many people will watch this. Zach, you're the president. How many people do you think will watch this?
How many people do I think will watch this? I think we can hit 500 people. And that's just on this first episode. Like I think you guys,
Inshallah.
yes, so, like you
Inshallah.
guys on this podcast,
Inshallah, yeah.
you guys, the host and the rest of your team, like I think you guys are gonna put together like this amazing, you know, podcast where you never know. Inshallah, maybe 2 or 3 years we're hitting 5,000 people an episode. You know, but this is just the start, so you have to start
It's like,
somewhere. Like 500.
Mhm. Exactly. Oh,
no, I'm not sure if you're allowed to disclose this, but how many people like across all of the camps? Like, I froze.
for a second.
Am I still
yeah, you're fine
frozen?
now.
No,
Hello.
You're good now.
Oh, okay. But I was gonna ask. Okay, thank you. I was gonna ask. I'm not sure if you're allowed to disclose this information, but like on average, well, actually, since president, you haven't have you seen the camp numbers from previous years?
Yes.
How many campers does like all of Minna get together in like one camp? Because I've been thinking it's like around 600.
So for every camp season, so like one summer camp season.
Every camp season. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's around 600, 650. Yeah, somewhere around there.
It's huge.
650.
Yeah.
And you think 500 people are gonna watch this? Man,
I mean,
the Minna fan base has to be real dedicated.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
if
not putting you guys
think
down. But
if you think about it, like there's 6 regions, right? So that's one camp per region. So we're averaging about 100 campers per camp. So
Maybe we can start our
Okay.
own region, Minna Online.
Yo,
Like,
maybe. Honestly, that's so cool. I hadn't thought about it like that way. Okay. I'm ready to see 500 people. Let's go.
inshallah, inshallah.
Inshallah. Oh my goodness. It's like it's a movement, man. It's a movement. Like it's just because I feel like, especially in the West, this is one of the most beautiful things about Minna. Because especially in the West, Minna gives us an opportunity to understand that, hey, we should not be sort of embarrassed or hiding underneath our faith, but rather we should be wearing the faith on our chest like a badge. That's what I love about Minna, right?
Unfortunately, I forgot to wear my Minna merch today, like you were just saying, but that's okay.
And Zach
Next time.
too.
Exactly.
But yeah, like I've never been like shy about my faith. I've always been outspoken. I've always been an outspoken person, but ever since like especially I've become an officer, I've just been so much more open to just like doing random da'wah whenever I probably shouldn't be doing da'wah, especially since I'm not a person who should be doing da'wah because I like aren't that knowledgeable, but still I do it anyway. Astaghfirullah, alhamdulillah. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. But I don't know, like in that sense, like how do you think Minna has affected your like I don't want to say public face of Minna because none of us are public figures. Like we're just kids. We're literally just like children who have been given too much responsibility and haven't burned everything down yet. So I don't know, guys. You have anything to say about that?
that's actually funny. That like that slogan, "We're just kids who were given a whole bunch of responsibility and haven't burned everything down yet." That was actually
It's true.
you're not wrong. I will agree with you. I think it has definitely taken the badge of Islam, right, and made it something that like we can wear proudly on our chest. I think Minna does a good job of letting people be proud of their faith and their religion. And like you said, we're not really like public figures. And so like we're not going to be like having to go out and make speeches about Islam, et cetera, et cetera.
Not
But I
yet.
think one thing that it does is like it allows us to, I guess, let people know we're Muslim within our own circles, right? So, maybe I remember like after I came from my first minute camp and my friends back in high school, like they asked me like what I did that summer, and I was like, yeah, I went to this cool camp, and like I really learned about like my religion, and like it kind of dawned on me like when I said that they didn't really know I was Muslim, right? Like I was going by Zach, right, in high school, and like I guess if you just like look at me, like you wouldn't really know that I was Muslim. And I guess I hadn't told them, and so like when I went back and I told them about the camp, and they were like, "Oh wow, like really, like you're Muslim," and so like that opened up a lot of conversations between me and my friends about like just Islam in general and what it's about. And so I think that's what Minna really does for us. It allows us to open up conversations about Islam within our own circles, because I think honestly that's probably like more important than like going out and giving some big speech to the entirety of the United States.
Yeah, and I think even when like in the beginning of the right in the beginning when Raham was talking about how like this was something that kind of like catalyzed his faith, I feel like this is a way also to like express how we like explore faith, you know, like that might be that like Minna itself made you start praying, or it might be that like Minna made it so that your methods of having faith has changed, you know, and whether that be like at camp talking with someone who's just another Muslim, or you know, like I was also one of those people who just like love chanting, and like in a like a good way, like one um that's like halal, and one that's like you're chanting about something you love and about something that is like as important as your deen. Like that's so important to have these like different types of things that we can do. um like not giving a speech, whether like if you're not someone who likes giving speeches, if you're not like someone who wants to like organize an entire camp, you still have like different things you can do to show that like you're proud of like what you do, and to show that like you want to help others. Um like even things like I used to be like a section editor for the Minna blog, and even things like writing small things, or like how you can like improve your health and improve your lifestyle, all for the sake of like pleasing Allah and like making your own life better. It's like all these little things can are just culminated in how you express like what you've learned and how you want to impact other people.
Just one like really quick irrelevant, actually two really quick irrelevant notes. And I hate to do the second one, but I'm gonna start with the first one. Yeah, both of you guys really like chanting, and if you guys don't know, if you haven't been to Minna, Minna's like huge on chanting, which like don't be intimidated if it is. Like I don't know. I know a lot of like guys think chanting is like girly or whatever. It's not, guys. Like masculine men chant too, and it's really cool. Okay, stop being lame. But on that note, I also really don't like chanting. Like I do it begrudgingly at camp. I love Minna, but I just don't like. I like giving speeches. I like talking. But chanting just isn't my thing. I don't want to
That's
ride in your little
okay,
red
honestly.
wagon, bro.
It's okay. It's okay. It's kind of like this. I feel like I don't know if this is the American way to pronounce it, but it's the niche way of like minnaing these days. I feel like. I mean, honestly, chanting does come with a lot of side effects. I've literally lost my voice and gotten a cold after every single minna camp I went to. So that's one thing to consider. But
You want to know one quick way to make sure that you don't lose your voice while chanting?
use the little honey packets they have at the tea station you're not supposed to drink from, and
Nah, I was gonna
keep
talk about
those.
like some like a scientific method of like projecting. So I recently took a class on like this voice and diction. So most of the time when we're speaking from our throat. But if you speak from your chest, not only does it sound like a little bit different, but you're also not going to lose your voice nearly as fast. So if you make sure that you're like expressing from like this part, you know, like actually like lower, you're not going to lose your voice nearly as fast. Because I don't usually lose my voice at camp, and I do chant again begrudgingly, but I do chant. But the second thing I wanted to say, Noor, have you been timing us? Because I have not been. Zach, you probably shouldn't
Yes,
have
I
been.
have I
Oh,
have 41 minutes on the clock.
oh wow, we are 12 minutes over, which is like, really great actually. That's awesome. Um, wow. I don't want to end. I don't want to end. Like, what? Can we go to an hour? Split
Yeah.
this in two. Split this in two things. This sucks. No, it's actually great, but it sucks that yeah, it has to. It's like Minicamp all over again. Rest in peace.
Yeah, getting PMD from the podcast.
The
Hmm.
podcast. This is just so nice to hear. It's just everything. It all comes back. 'Cause haven't been to camp in like a year now. Just sucks. All of
I'm just
2020.
scared. Honestly, I'm kind of just scared that like I'll pass the age limit before I get to go to another camp. That's just gonna be the saddest thing ever. But I mean,
Yeah,
it's like there's no limit to like being involved in this stuff, but the camps are kind of special in that way.
we have the president right here. He can increase the age, like Berkeley getting rid of like the SATs or whatever, like the UCs. So if you could just for like the next 3 years allow like 21-year-olds.
I mean, honestly, I might do it because that would have given me a whole nother year of camp. So We'll
It's a
see.
good idea.
We'll see.
Inshallah, inshallah. Everybody say inshallah, especially if you're old. And if you're
Inshallah.
young, do it because you want the old people to be there. Because one of the best things about Minna, I shouldn't be talking anymore because we probably should be ending this. But the best thing about Minna, for me at least, is like finding those role models that you never find anywhere else. So try and get those old people to come to class. I mean, Minna, it's not.
You think those
I've ruined
role
everything.
models are going to be very happy that you just call them old people?
You know, isn't it like young kids want to be old and old people want to be young? So I don't know, Zach.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
About which part? The old people want to be young and young people want to be old, or about the
Yeah. Oh God, what? I turned my notifications off. Sorry, guys. I'm Muslim, just in case you didn't know.
Okay, I'm going to speak to both your points. The first one about old people being young and young people wanting to be old, I think is very true. I'm 20 and I want to go back to when I was 15, simply because of the fact that I'm about to age out of Minna. But to all my younger people who might be listening, enjoy your youth because responsibility hits. So yeah, that's
You're
all.
20. I love the fact that you're saying that and you're 20.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'll just reiterate your last point about finding a mentor. I think that's probably one of the biggest parts about minicamp is like you can connect with someone who's older than you, even if it's just by a few years. That's like some of my best friends from minicamps are like a few years older than me, and we still talk to this day. And I like call them if I need like any advice on something or anything like that. So yeah, I would say that that's probably a big part of Minna. So any of you people on the younger side of the spectrum, find a mentor. Anybody on the older side, find a mentee if you feel comfortable. That relationship will definitely last a lifetime.
And, I have just one last question before we lose you. So, Zach, now that you've been the president, you've got to the top, started at the bottom, now you're here. What's next, Zach? What's next?
What's next?
Yeah.
For me?
Yeah, for you, whether it's Minna or not Minna, I don't know.
Honestly, I'm trying to slow down time as much as possible because this is my last year, like formally within the organization. I still think I'll definitely come back, as a counselor, advisor, whatever they need me to do. So that's probably what's next for me, Minna-wise. Personally, I'm trying to graduate. I'm a sophomore in college. I'm studying psychology, so just trying to take that one day at a time. Psychology is interesting. Anybody who wants to study psychology, I would advise you to do so. It's really interesting. But yeah, graduation in a couple years, inshallah. That's probably what's next for me.
Inshallah. By any chance, are you gonna take that psych degree and become a youth dev?
Hey, I might, Brother Fiaz.
Inshallah.
The youth want it, Brother Fiaz.
Inshallah, one day. One youth dev was able to do it. Actually, probably a bunch of, I don't know how many youth dev were Minna kids beforehand. All of them, right? Actually, technically.
I don't think so. I think
No. Was Brother Fiaz ever young?
Brother Fiaz, Ala, and Cheyenne, I think.
Oh, but not Sister Havana, huh?
Yeah, I think she was just a counselor.
That's crazy. Okay, that's cool. But sadly, Noor, you were gonna say something and I cut you off.
Yeah, sadly, unfortunately, although this conversation was very eye-opening to all of us and kind of surprising in one way or another, this episode has to come to an end. And we wanted to thank our guests for coming on today on this episode of We the Youth. So, thank you.
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. I was about to thank the audience for watching, and I wasn't going to thank the guests, but you just reminded me to thank you. I'm really thankful. Don't think I'm not. It's just I'm a really forgetful person.
Yeah, and thank you for being the president of this wonderful organization. I'm sure your work will help a lot of kids out or help a lot of initiatives out in one way or another. So that's great.
Thank you. Honestly, yeah. You're changing so many lives right now, Zach. Seriously, don't forget that. No pressure, by the way. But yeah.
All right, no pressure.
So we want to thank our guests today for coming on to this episode of We the Youth. A lot of the things that were said today couldn't have happened without the perspective of Minna's great president. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Zach, for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. This was awesome.
Yeah, and thank everybody else for watching. Make sure to subscribe to all of our things. We have a Twitter, an Instagram, and an email list. Sign up to the email list. That's how we got Noor over here. She's awesome. You guys know that. You just listen to her talk for like 30 minutes. Make sure to join our Discord as well. And thank you for
We
watching.
the Youth is a production of Minna.
We the Youth is a production of Minna, yes. So yes, make sure to come back next week to see how we like our coffee.
I'm Noor.
And I'm Rahim. Assalamu alaikum.